Alright, Sanity here, guys. Continuing from where we left off last time almost. This guide is going to be about basic and intermediate awareness mechanics. We're going to go from everything from zoning to map awareness, how to ward, where to ward, that type of thing, what you need to be looking for. So I'm going to go a little bit more in depth in this for you guys, because a lot of people have trouble with this. So last time where we left off was zoning. I chose Blitzcrank for this example because Blitzcrank is one of the best zoners in the game, without a doubt. And I want to give you guys a good example of how to zone and what's going on. So, here I'm just kind of standing still. Alright, here we go. So, Blitzcrank and wards and brushes. As you can see here, Blitzcrank, I'm just standing in the brushes waiting for the enemy team to get down here to the lane. And I keep hitting mid traps so they can see me, but they know where I'm at. But here's the point. You can see that right now we are going to be zoning this Ash. Essentially what I'm doing as Blitz is I am standing in that brush making Ash not want to come out. Unfortunately my Varus is kind of pushing a little bit, but as you can see here, she has to walk up to get towards these minions. So I know that as Blitzcrank, if I stay in the brush up here, that she's going to have a harder time getting towards the minions and getting to be able to kill these minions. So essentially right now we are zoning her. She has the hawk shot to be able to keep vision on me, which is another thing. You want to be able to keep vision on what you need to do now. Going for awareness, always, like I remember as I said, always be watching your map, watching what's going on. We have seen that my Karthus is in trouble and he needs some help, so I immediately start running up there, and Varus starts running up there. So, keeping awareness, I see that he needs some help. We see that he's got two people, so I'm going to go in and generally at this point we have her pretty much zoned. I actually screw up and managed to push her out of the ulti, but she does manage to die. Now, here we know that they're coming up. We should have ran away, and me, unfortunately, I decided to derp up here, so this is a good example of what not to do. Don't bother initiating onto that because I put my team in a very bad position. They should have just left me to die completely, but unfortunately they didn't. Varus is going to be extremely mad at me because I did get him killed, but they should have really just left us. Now, here once again we really need some good awareness and just keeping aware. We're going to go straight on to wards. You can see this ward's about to die, but generally having that ward there and being able to watch the map and watch for pings, I knew that Karthus was going to get in some serious trouble, and I was able to come up and help him, and we did secure a kill, but I made a mistake of engaging when I shouldn't have, and it ended up costing my Varus his life. So don't ever engage on a fight that you know you just can't win. That was just me being derpy and derping up. That just proves that even someone who's played this game a huge amount can still make dumb plays if they're not paying attention. Alright, so here I am. I noticed that the ward is gone, so I bought a couple more, and I'm going to start warding. It's the 10-minute mark now, so I'm pretty much just keeping this warded, and we haven't been pushing up enough for me to start warding try, but I'm going to go ahead and ward it anyways, just in case, because they have the type of mid that is just going to roam around all day. So if you see they have a really roamy mid, you should be warding. Now here, once again, we're just pushing up to the tower, making sure that everything's secure with wards, being aware that their rise is coming down towards us, and so because of that ward we were able to notice that that rise was coming down. And watch, now we do have a teleport coming in by our Karthus on the ward that I placed down, so great, another thing if you have someone with teleport. So where I'm going to go ahead and get the grab off on him, where we are managing, and we managed to kill the rise because of excellent map awareness and knowing what's going on. So we managed to not only kill their mid, but we managed to see their jungle also just kind of holding down. So right here, I'm just kind of trying to bait, and once again, Blitz just being such an excellent displacer. I pop out exhaust, but we just really didn't have the damage to do anything to her. But Another good example of why awareness and map awareness is so important. Now, generally for wards, I want to go ahead and talk about this because this is a bit more of an advanced warding strategy. A lot of people don't know how to ward and when to ward. Very important. If you see that your team is pushing up to about this mark or this mark right here, and you are able to be ganked by that tri-bush, that is when you need to ward that tri-bush. It's very important to keep a ward on the tri-bush. If you fear the jungler ganks or the middle ganks, you want to keep a ward, preferably your pink on the dragon. Use your pink wards to destroy enemy wards. It's very important. That's why oracles is also very important. So definitely ward here, ward here. As the game goes on, also, as the game starts winding down and getting into the 15-minute mark, there's a ward strategy that I call the triangle ward, and you see this in a lot of high-level play. And basically what it is, you want a ward right here in the tri-bush, a ward at the dragon, and then a ward right around here, preferably right here. That way you get vision here, here, and here. So it covers that for your mid as well and keeps track of their jungler. So you pretty much have your entire side of the map, all the important spots where you can be ganked, controlled with the wards. And for only 3 wards to be able to do that, you get maximum amount of coverage for your wards. And it's amazing efficiency with it. Wards are probably the most OP items in the game because they only cost 75G, and the way they change the game is crazy. So definitely buy wards. I cannot stress it enough how important buying wards are to being able to dominate the flow of a game. Your team. Now, me, once again, going back into the zoning thing, I am just kind of bush camping the brush, making sure that they aren't getting any, getting near my ADC, and they aren't getting near the minions or anything, so I'm just kind of trying to zone them. Unfortunately, Vars, once again, just pushing way too much. We really should be keeping it about this line right now, but it's up to your ADC to determine your pushing. I mean, you really can't, as far as if you're playing on a supportive role, you can't decide when your lane's going to push and when it's not going to push. So, about how that works. But we were able to pick up some pretty easy kills. Now, you see that we have lost our vision in the tri-bush. So, diving, a bit of a risky deal, but I'm pretty sure that my Varus can pick up the kills. Now, I do notice that our freaking tri-bush is now no longer warded, so I have to go back and ward it again, as well as warding our dragon. So, that's one of the things you just have to watch for is warding. Very important. Generally, your support is going to buy most of your wards per game, but never get in your head, and this is very, very important. I cannot stress this enough. Never get in your head that you're not going to buy wards. Every single role in this game should buy wards. If you are a middle lane, you see my Karthus has already placed a ward right here and a ward right here to prevent him from being ganked. You see that Teemo, he's got his mushrooms or whatever these things are, rice cakes. He's got actually a lot of them, but for Teemo it's a little bit different. But if he was playing a different champion, then you know that he will want wards as well. So always buy your wards. Essentially how this works is your bottom lane is going to be warded by your support. Your bottom lane should be covered by your support with the wards. Your middle lane, leading up into your middle lane, should be covered by your middle, and your top should be covered by your top. And your jungle. Your objectives should be covered, such as your dragon and your baron, should be covered by the jungle. The jungle just pretty much wards wherever there is a ward needed. The only person that's really going to be excluded from buying wards on a constant basis is going to be your ADC. But if you are playing an ADC, you still should be watching what's going on with your maps. So if you notice that your support is struggling to ward, or just generally not warding in the right positions, point that out to your support and buy a ward. I mean, think of it like this: you have an objective on your side of the map when you're playing bottom to control, so even as an ADC it's important to ward. Now, going into the jungle, as your jungler, it can be helpful to counter ward, and I'm going to remove the fog of war so you guys can see what I'm talking about here. It can be important to counter ward. Counter warding is when you ward the enemy side of the map and gain maximum control. So basically you would ward their blue, their red, their wolves, their rays, pretty much anything right here. This is one of the reasons if you ward right here, you warded their raids as well, so you can keep track of their jungler. But this enables your jungler and your mid to counterplay their jungler. Generally, you won't see a lot of this happening early game, but as it transitions into mid to late, you want to have wards in the enemy jungle knowing what's going on, because it can be the difference when you scoring a couple kills and you keeping the buffs underneath your control rather than the enemy control. Okay, now moving on to general map awareness. I know that we had Karthus earlier, and I showed you a good example of how to be aware of what's going on. Always be looking at your map. Always be watching your wards. Another thing that's very important to note is always be checking your minimap, regardless of what role you're playing. Doesn't matter what role you're playing. Just be checking your minimap, checking your wards. I'd say at least every minute or so. You want to be just really scouring your minimap. What will help you guys with this is playing a champion with a global ulti. Playing any champion with a global ulti, generally you can tell when someone plays a lot of, say, Karthus, Shin, Soraka, that type deal, because they're always watching what's going on your map. Another way to keep control of what's going on is you have these right here, these pictures on the side, and this really needs to be used a lot more. You have these pictures on the side. They're also binded to the number keys if you have the default settings. So like one would take you here, there, etc. But it would be on your team. That's just because they have it binded that way in spectator mode. But generally watch these pictures. These pictures can tell you what's going on around the map so much that it's just very important. You can actually see if someone on your team is near you and needing help. Generally, you're going to want to lay down some pings, of course, because pings are a great way, because pings get attention. But also watch your pictures. Know what's going on with your team in that way. Very important to know exactly what's going on. Also, when you tab, watch your ultimate. There's an ultimate timer on the scoreboard, unless they removed it. They might have removed it. If they have removed it, don't worry about it. But if there is one on there, because I know there used to be one on there, always ask, when the ultimate's up. Never assume anything. It's very important. Always be, always be aware of what's going on with you, your team, that type of deal, so you don't make a very bad play like I did earlier. Perfect example. That's one of the reasons I want you guys to see that, to know what a good play is and what a bad play is. So, and just differentiating and being able to tell the difference between them. Okay, so that pretty much covers warding strategies, when to ward, how to be aware, how to watch your map. I want to go and cover this on how to set up ganks. As far as bottom is concerned, once again, my jungle just not being very aware of what's going on. That's a perfect example of a bad play. Not knowing what's warded, when's warded, and just not assuming that it is warded. Generally, the base assumption you want to have is if you're going to gank a lane as a jungler, that the lane's going to be warded. Just go ahead and assume that. I mean, it's better to just go ahead and assume that than to walk in and make a play and die. Now here, I saw my Karthus coming down, knew that he was going to gank. How to set up ganks? It's easy to set up ganks. Setting up ganks is not hard at all. Basically, what you want to do is you don't want to over push the lane. When you see your jungler coming down to gank for you, generally they're going to want to come from behind and gank. So what you want to do is let your lane push to about the mid, at least the midway, or actually beyond the midway mark, for a greater chance of gank success. Also, what you can do to maximize your ganks at bottom is you can buy a pink ward. As you can see, I have 2 right now, and place them right here. Place them at dragon. Generally place them to counter ward the wards. A lot of times I'll place my 2 pinks at dragon and tribush, just to keep the enemy vision out. Also, you can buy an oracles at bottom if you're doing good and you have enough money and you can justify the purchase. Go ahead and buy an oracles. A lot of times now in high and low, you're going to see junglers. Junglers will end up buying oracles early and just destroy wards because the less vision the enemy team has, the more chance your team has of a gank being successful. So besides pushing back your lane, always be watching your map, knowing where your wards are, and seeking to destroy enemy wards whenever you can. Alright, that's pretty much covers on how to set up ganks and how to make your ganks more efficiently, regardless of what lane you're playing on. Alright, so let's go ahead and move right into pretty much the final thing you need to know, and probably the most important thing about being aware is always, I mean always, it's staple if you're going to be aware of what's going on. I cannot stress enough, I've stressed it once or twice, always, not only do you want to be checking your minimap, watching what's going on, communicate with your team. If you have, generally now there isn't a voice over IP system in League, defaultly, but try to be communicating with your team. Use your pings. Always be communicating with your team. Always, what's the word? I guess, yeah, always be prepared with your team to know what's going on. Communication is key. Literally, communication is just so key to winning any strategic team game like League, that you must communicate with your team to have any chance of success. Always know what your team's doing, what's going on. That's why it's best to get on a voice over IP program if you can. If you have a team that you play with or people that you play with, always have some way to communicate with your team. If I wouldn't recommend typing huge amounts, but typing something is good. And this brings you to the point of typing MIA. It is something that, once again, as I said, was just staple. MIA can literally save a life. Now, always be aware of when the enemy leaves your lane. I mean, this is such a simple concept. All you have to do is, if your lane, like you see, Karthus knows that Rise is at bottom, obviously, but he says MIA, so we knew to back up immediately. Always call your MIAs. I mean, all you have to do is type 3 letters, MIA. I believe the other one that people are using now is SS, but I prefer MIA. It's 3 letters. 3 letters can save a life, and that's about it. You calling MIA, even if a trick I like to do and something that I do all the time, people actually get a little bit upset over it, and I really don't care, because if I see someone pushing, extremely pushing on my team, I will call MIA, simply because calling MIA, generally, when people see that, they're going to look at their map. They want to know who's MIA, what's going on. So always call your MIAs. So if I call MIA from bottom, generally they're going to assume that the MIA is at bottom, but I will also call MIA on the jungler. Now, jungler is always going to be considered MIA, but a lot of people just forget about it in the heat of battle and just don't think about it. So definitely always call your MIAs. 3 letters. 3 letters can save a life. So yeah, that's about it, guys. Thank you for listening to this guide. Definitely give me some feedback. Feedback is always appreciated, and I hope you guys enjoyed this guide, and I hope you guys will become better players and more aware players of what's going on around you, and definitely be looking to improve on this, because awareness is something that anyone can improve on at any time. So thanks so much, guys, and I will see you next time.